Hello, everyone. I'm Kimberly Calhoun, one of the founders of Pod TV, and I'd like to invite you to join us on one of my favorite TV shows and one of our number one TV shows, Timeshares Solutions or Surrender with Irene Parker, who is providing us do-it-yourself solutions to get you out of those situations if you've had a situation with timeshares that just doesn't seem fair, or you've dealt with some deceptive acts of timeshares. And please keep that in mind, deceptive acts of timeshares. Not all timeshares are deceptive, and there are very good stories out there, and we try to do a mix of all of it. But everyone, please help me welcome Irene Parker, who has so far, we have 15 episodes now?
We do, and it's really, the excitement has been building. And one thing that I find so helpful is the reality show aspect of this and the fluid situations. So we were planning to have some past guests on to see how their outcomes are proceeding. And less than a week ago, we received someone reached out through TARDA, contact us, our timeshare and resort developer accountability nonprofit. And he was very excited that we are being proactive and that one of our goals is to improve communication between members and developers, or owners and developers. We make a distinction between deeded timeshares and non-deeded right to use points, or more like members joining a gym club. And so your description of bad experiences and positive outcomes, we really have the good and the bad, and a fascinating story of a Westgate buyer who bought in 2019. And this is almost breaking news that we don't have to say alleged. It is rare that a developer will acknowledge deception, and Westgate Resorts did acknowledge deception in 2009. This happened, and lo and behold, in 2021, another purchase. So I'd like to introduce Cornelius from Alabama onto our stage, and his daughter, Natasha. I said that correctly, I think.
You did.
And not only did Cornelius have a positive outcome, but he launched a Facebook group that Kimberly will be showing us later in the show. And so we always start, Cornelius, take us back to 2009 and what happened.
Okay, so I guess to explain how we really got approached, was we was just on our second to the last day going down to in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, second to the last day, and we was just walking down through town, and this guy approached us. He just come out of, I don't know, it seemed like he came out of nowhere. He was like, "Hey, where y'all guys from?" We had a little chit chat, and he was like, "When you leaving, where we were staying?" We told him all that, and he was like, "Well, hey, look, you ever heard about timeshare, Westgate Resorts timeshares and all of that?" And I was like, "No, I've never heard of it." Me and my wife, he was like, "No, we never heard of nothing like that." And he was like, "Man, you can go down there, listen to what they're talking about. You know, you can purchase into a timeshare ownership, and you'll be able to vacation like you want to, whatever. You just be paying monthly or whatever." He said, "But just go listen to him, man." Like, his main thing was like, it's about 90 minutes, and they're gonna give you $75 if they don't. If you don't buy, you just listen. You don't have to buy. Just listen to what they say. An hour and a half, you can leave. You know, like I said, I tell everybody, that's not necessarily the case of how it actually happens. You do go through a lot of time dealing with them. Now, what actually happened when we got there? We went through the whole presentation. We had a sales agent, and we had a sales manager who came in later into the whole ordeal. But we kept doing the little dog and pony show about what we wanted versus what we could afford. And the main thing that I was real adamant about was we needed to be able to travel in the month of July. I remember distinctly telling them, I was like, look, we're here in July. The only time we're gonna come is in July. So I got 3 birthdays that I celebrate. We celebrate as a family in July. I have my wife and 2 of my daughters' birthdays in July. We got to be able to travel in July. And we kept doing that back and forth, back and forth. What we was wanting, we couldn't afford. And what they were trying to tell us to get, we didn't want. I was like, no, just let us go. We can go. Long story short on that end, the sales rep and the sales manager left the table. And when they came back, they was like, okay, we have this deal for you guys. You're going to be able to stay in the month of July. All I'm telling you that you're going to need to do is make sure that you call earlier enough in advance to be able to book, because it fills up fast. And I was like, well, there's, we plan, how early can we do this? And it was like, as soon as you pay your maintenance fees and taxes and stuff, you can do it or whatnot. But, try to make sure you do it as early as possible, which, was the plan anyway. We plan our stuff out. Like we really plan our stuff out. And so fast forward from that moment to, closing the whole ordeal. We did the whole closing. And after we were done, the lady comes over and she tells me, sales rep comes over and she hands me her business card. And on the back of it, she put her phone number. She said, listen, if you guys have any problem booking in the month of July, when y'all get ready to come back, she said, if y'all have any problem booking, call me. She said, call this number, just call me. She said, I'll do what I would do to help you and whatnot. I was like, okay. So, I didn't think it was going to be a big deal. And then like that, we had all the paperwork signed. I was, I felt like I made enough noise during that presentation that, hey, they understood. I don't think you could be as elementary as pulling out a piece of typing paper and writing down, I got to travel in the month of July and say, I know y'all can't sign it, but this is what I want. And them agreeing to it. And so,
was there anything in writing that they gave you that would indicate you could travel in July?
No, they didn't give nothing. They didn't give us anything. When we left there, other than that CD. We got the little CD thing, the CD-ROM, I think is what it was back then. We had that, something you stick in the computer and all your documents and stuff will pop up. That's what they gave us when we left. We didn't have any papers, so to speak. They had to do all of that. It was late. They had to do all of that stuff later. So, but fast forwarding from that day, that was in July of 2009. Fast forward to February of 2010. Like I said, I was at my daughter at the time. I think she was 14 years old. We was at her cheer tryout. I'm sitting out in the parking lot waiting on her to finish doing what she was doing. And I was like, well, we done filed our taxes. We know when everything. So we got our monies and stuff in place. Let me go ahead and call so we can do everything in one walk. We're going to pay our maintenance fees and taxes and go ahead and book our week. I call and get on the phone with the lady, and I explained to her, like, hey, I'm calling to book our week for the month of July. And she'd go through and take the account number and look everything up, and she comes back and she says, well, you can't do the month of July. You can't do July. And I was like, what? I didn't really give it a week. So I was like, is all of July booked up? And she was like, yeah. And so at this point in time, she didn't say yes. At this point in time, I'm thinking in my mind, like, well, what can we do in June? And so I'm like, is all of July booked up? And she was like, no. And I was like, what do you mean it's not booked up? And she was like, well, you don't have the kind of package that allows you to be able to travel in the month of July. You have what they call a red week. And I'm like, what is that? Nobody said anything to me about a red week. And at this point in time, like, I'm hearing spotty stuff because I'm like, I know what I told these people. I was adamant about it. You know, I was going back and forth like, hey, we got to travel in the month of July. And I'm telling them why. And so we kept going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You know, I'm telling her what the deal is. And she's saying, well, what you supposed to have did was, well, let me explain the timing and what I guess you would say the grinder that we got caught up in was they gave us a CD-ROM that was supposed to have had all the information on it. But we didn't look at that CD. You know, I'm thinking that, okay, everything's going to be what it needs to be. We live 6 hours away from where we actually did the touring situation. So, which is Gatlinburg. We live in Alabama. And the lady said that, well, let me back up. They were going to mail our packet thing to us, everything, our papers. And we was going to get all that stuff FedEx. That was going to come later. At the time, I didn't know that there was a 3 or 5 day rescission period or something. I didn't know anything about none of this stuff until I called to try to book. And so when I called and tried to book, and I'm explaining to the lady our situation, she was like, well, you're supposed to have looked over your stuff that was in your packet. And I was like, what packet? The packet that you got when you purchased. And I was like, yeah, we got that. She was explaining at that point in time that our rescission period was like 3 or 5 days. I'm going to say 5.
I think it's 5 in Tennessee.
Okay. So I'm like, okay, well, we didn't get our packet until like 2 weeks after we got from up there. So how were we going to know that this wasn't something that we actually purchased? And she was like, oh, well, you supposed to went back to Servieville County Courthouse and went in some book, in some place, location, and all of that was the information to go find it was on the CD-ROM. I was like, ma'am, I live 6 hours away from up there. What, I was gonna come home, turn around and go back up there to find out what we had when we telling y'all what we wanted and y'all assured us that this is what we was getting?
And Natasha, were you at the presentation?
Yeah, I was present. I was just younger. I was 14 at the time. And I paid attention because, you know, I was one of those, me being the oldest, you know, I was intrigued by these sorts of things anyway. So, yeah, I remember it like he's explaining it. It's just, you know, being a kid at the time, a teen, you just sit back and you watch.
Okay. And so but you didn't give up. You took steps from that
Right.
point.
Well, right. So what ended up happening was while I was on the phone with the booking agent, and she was telling me that, you know, what we had and that we weren't allowed to travel in the month of July. I was like, I don't understand none of this, what y'all talking about, because this is not what we asked for. So we going through all of that. By this time, my daughter, she done got back in the car. Natasha got back in the car. We done made it home. And I'm like, it clicks, go get the card that the lady gave us. So, you know, I go ramble through the stuff and get the card that lady gave us. And I was like, let me call the agent that we had on the during that day and see if we can get this here figured out. And so I put the booking agent on 3. I put her on hold and I called the sales rep. She answers the phone and I starts to explain to her who I am. I'm like, hey, this is Cornelius, the Billups family that came from Alabama, and we purchased a timeshare up in a timeshare up at the Smoky Mountains with you guys. And before I could go any further, at this time I joined the call, but the sales rep did not know I had her on 3-way. And so she said, oh no, I remember you guys because I quit the next day because of what they did to y'all. And I was like, oh, wow. And then the booking agent, she heard all of it. And she was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, okay, ma'am, I'm glad you said that because I have the booking agent on the line and she's telling us that we cannot book in the month of July. And she said, she is correct, but you did ask for that. And they gave y'all something that you did not ask for. And that is the reason why I quit. She said, I know that y'all was very adamant about that. Now she said, I just couldn't, y'all, you know, she was talking about our family and whatnot and how we presented ourselves and how we was adamant about that time period. She knew about the birthdays. She brought all that back up. And so the lady, the booking agent was like, okay, well, I need to get some information from you to verify who you are, so that we'll be able to verify what what he is saying or whatnot. And so they got all of that squared away, and the booking agent got, they talked a little bit, and then they got off the line. The sales rep, she got off the line. And so the booking agent at this time, she says, okay, so what I want to do, she apologized. And she said, what I want to do is send you guys out a packet with a paperwork so that you can fill it out and send it back in, and we'll give you guys a full refund of the money that you put in there. And I said, no. I said, whatever we gave you, you keep it. I said, because somebody that would lie to me like that, I said, I've been assigned some papers, and they don't tell them what I've been signed up for. Sign the paper with y'all again. I'm telling what y'all have hidden and stuff. I said, I don't want to fool with it. I said, whatever we gave you, keep it. And I hung up the phone. And that was that is how it was until we actually, I think we ran into him one other time in Tennessee. We visited in 2019. We didn't do anything. We was at an aquarium. We was at a museum, a wax museum. And the lady was in the corner, and she came over and she was like, hey, you guys wanna go do a tour at Westgate Resort? No, she didn't say where she's from. She was like, you want to get some tickets? And
well, wait a minute. Let me stop you there. Let me go back, okay. Because I thought that you stop making pay? You had a loan through Westgate, yes, for that 2009 purchase,
right.
And so you did stop making payments.
Right. So after I got off the phone with that lady that day, we went and went to the bank, went to our bank, and we did an affidavit to stop payment on the Westgate account thing, because they do those auto drafts. We stopped payment on that, and then our the financial advisor that we had at the bank, she said the best thing for us to do following that is to go ahead and close that account, shut that account down, and open up another one. And we shut that account down, open up another bank account, and then after we did that, we was in the process of trying to figure out how to get our house, either buy a house or build a house. And me and my wife were sitting down talking about it, and we figured that it would be best to go ahead and send in, put a statement on our credit report stating what happened and why we, if it was to pop up, because we did have some stuff to do. If y'all stop paying on it, it's gonna show up on your credit report and all this. We didn't want none of that happening, so we put a statement on our credit report so that people would be able, if anybody was to check it, they would see that, hey, this is a timeshare, not an actual loan situation that we will be dealing with, or whatever mortgage that we actually defaulted on. This, if it was a predatory lending or something done that was not all on the up and up, then they would understand. So we put our whole statement on our credit report, so if it was to pop up, people would see it. Yes.
Can I ask one question?
Yes, ma'am.
Did they open up a credit card in your name, or did they take payment by credit card as well?
No. Okay. In 2009, I know they have a credit card option now. And actually, you saying that, I've heard people and spoken to some people who've done that. They actually opened up, but they didn't have enough for the down payment, and they would open up a credit card and put all the down payment on their credit card. So yeah, I've heard of them.
I was just wondering if you did that. So okay,
Comenity is the credit card company for Westgate now. Maybe Barclays too. I'm not sure. But then, did I understand correctly that you stopped loan payments, but you told them to keep the down payment because you didn't want to sign papers for release?
Right. I told them I didn't want to sign nothing else, but they had their name on it. I didn't know. Y'all took money from us like that. The way we talked and said that we wanted what we wanted, we were adamant about it. Don't move that. And they did what they did. It was just blatant. I was like, no, I'm not. If y'all would do that, ain't no telling what y'all will put in that paper to have me signing, and then y'all telling me I'm getting my money back, but ain't no telling what y'all will be doing on the back side of that. So whatever the situation is, I'm walking away. Like, I'm not, y'all keep what, I was like, y'all keep whatever we gave you. Because, if it was that like that, y'all keep it. So no, we didn't want anything from them after that.
Okay, and it did not affect your credit?
No, it
And
didn't pop up on our credit or nothing.
how many payments had you missed?
What do you mean in
If
terms
you
of?
stopped payments, did you just stop like 1 or 2 payments, or
Oh no,
um,
when we paid from July, when we purchased in
to
July of
February?
09, we
For
paid until
February.
February, and then we
And we
stopped after that happened. Well, there was no more payments. We didn't pay anything else to them.
And your credit was not affected?
No,
Okay,
nope.
well, that everybody's different. So your credit can drop up to 200 points. I think it was probably helpful that you reached out to the credit reporting agency. Okay, I'm back with you now, so we can fast forward. Let's keep going to 2019. And Natasha, you were with them in 2019 as well,
I was
because
26
everybody's
at
having
that point.
birthdays.
I was a little
This was
older,
2020,
and it was around my
2021.
birthday. 2021? Yeah.
Yeah,
It kind
2021.
of goes real fast
Now,
after that. So
well, let me back up. I don't want to confuse. The 2019 situation was when we didn't get involved with them. It was just one of those situations. Oh, it's y'all, and we like, no, we don't fool with y'all, and we kind of walked away. And then in 2021, which is in December of 2021, that was when we purchased again, and that's where Natasha comes in with a lot of her persuasiveness about, hey, let's just try it again. This is a different place. All of that, that's where she comes in.
Fathers are not, it's not an equal match between a
No,
father and a daughter like this. It's
no,
like, oh,
no, it's
please.
not. I try to tell people. I try to tell people that no,
but
it's not.
it's free tickets.
Well, I know you're the oldest of the family, Natasha. I'm the youngest and the only baby, and I got hired as a stockbroker. And I learned later that they felt that the youngest and the only girl in the family and the baby would always be successful as a stockbroker because we're so conniving and know how to get our own way. I think I don't know about your younger sister. We can get her opinion on that. Okay, so now we're 2021. What resort were you at this time?
We were at Westgate Lakes in Spawn, Orlando.
Okay, and we have a live chat. Someone just asked if anyone had been arrested. And I love the fact that this is live and people are chatting. And the reason that we've had exit companies have been arrested. I know one that went to jail, but he had also beat his girlfriend into a coma. But one of the reasons that people are not arrested is it's civil, not criminal. And I'm a former manager of Senior versus Crime, which is a special project of the Florida Attorney General's office. And what I was told is if I wanted to get new windows and somebody came in and measured a window, then it's civil because they did some work. But if they just took my deposit and I never saw them again, it's criminal. So the fact that you signed an agreement means it's civil. And that's a whole different show about filing a lawsuit versus arbitration. But thank you for that question. And I feel like kind of a baseball announcer where I have to go to the side. And now we're back to 2021. Let's keep going.
So yeah, it was Westgate Lakes in Spawn,
Westgate
Orlando,
Lakes.
where we visited that time.
Okay, and you spearheaded this to attend another presentation despite what happened to you in 2009?
Yeah, I remembered it, but I was younger and I was like, hey, I'm older now and I want to get into traveling more, to get family together, be able to enjoy. And that was like it was like our first time in Orlando, wasn't it?
When we went on that was our third time back in Orlando
Yeah, it was our
that
third
year.
time. But at that point, we had just started traveling that year to Orlando. And it's like, well, there's so much to do here. Why not, why not have somewhere that we can just come back and go to every single time, make it more of a regular thing for us.
So you ended up in another timeshare presentation. How did that go?
Well, it went a little I would say for the most part it went okay, but when we first entered, um, when we signed in and everything, checked in to kind of get ready for the presentation or tour, um, we had we had someone come out, and he basically, I can't remember exactly his name, but I know he came out. He was a manager from one of the others that he was just visiting there for that particular time, and he explained to us, he was wanting to come out and ask questions because they found our old account. So that kind of started a whole like conversation, because clearly we it appears as though there was an account that was neglected. It's like, well, hey, you're in here, that we're not going to be able to kind of go through a presentation and the tour and everything because this doesn't look the greatest. But after kind of going through and being able to go through more questions in that degree, they were able to kind of get better understanding of it, and we were able to proceed from there because of such a unique situation it was. And that's where I'll allow Dad to kind of explain the rest from there, because I want to make sure we get it right.
Well, and before we go that, we have another question came in from Jimmy Ropa that is asking if you filed with the Tennessee Attorney General, which is a good thing to do. The Tennessee Attorney General will attempt to mediate. The Florida Attorney General, it was explained to me, they do not mediate. They just pass a complaint on, and then the resort will come back. They're sort of just like a middleman. But and you had a good outcome without the Tennessee Attorney General. But in this presentation, as I understand it, they recalled that you had this bad experience in 2009. And did they have anything else to say about 2009? Were there other people that had been affected by what they did to you?
Right. So when we got into the whole, like she was saying, it was an odd situation starting out, because when we were sitting back there talking to the sales manager that we initially got, when we were sitting back and talking, he was like, man, we was probably thinking he was joking. We was like, man, we're gonna call the police on y'all, but get y'all thrown out of here because y'all didn't pay us and all these. But no, man, he said, but seriously speaking, they had never had anybody come there from Tennessee, and he said that it was a whole big, like it was supposed to be some big thing that happened up there, and there was a lot of stuff that went on, and we were one of the families that got caught up in it. And so
that was before the fires that happened, right?
Right. The fires happened after they did all of the stuff they did
After
with
sometime
us.
after 2009, and between the time we had went. So
right. So, and it was like, people were coming out looking at us like we was like aliens or something. Like it was weird. Like when he was like, man, don't mind. He said, people, we've never met anybody that went through that. And so like, we was talking about, went through the whole ordeal about what we wanted and, different stuff. You know how they do the time, going through the presentation. We was like, I didn't want to like I said, I didn't want to be involved with it at all. Just being honest, regardless of the situation. Look, y'all understand, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't. And so like, some of the stuff he had put on the table about, traveling around the world and all that kind of stuff, it had Natasha intrigued, and also had my wife intrigued. Yeah, and all the bells and whistles had them intrigued. So like, I got being pushed into the point of like, I don't want to do this, but if y'all saying y'all want to do it, and if that's a situation we can make the monthly payments on it or whatever we're going to do with it, then I'm not gonna. But I don't want to hear anything about nothing if this doesn't go like it's supposed to go. Like I was the one that was saying no. Everybody was like, let's see. And so like while we're having this, conversation, the guy that went upstairs and talked, he came back down and said, listen, so I'm not trying to sell you on anything or push you over, nothing like that. He said, but I'm just, I just talked to the manager upstairs, and he understands the situation. He's telling me to tell y'all, he's telling me to do whatever I gotta do to make y'all happy. So whatever you guys, just put it on the table. So at this point in time, we had a little bit of knowledge, from our previous dealings. We had a little bit of knowledge
to pay more attention this time.
Right.
Well, and what you could not do, but you could do in Tennessee, and you can do in Nevada or Arizona or Virginia, but not in Florida, is record without the other person knowing.
Right.
So
Right.
you have one party states and two party states. Grant just asked that question. And yes,
Right.
we have some remarkable recordings, including from a sales agent who's a disbarred attorney. It was quite some whoppers. So you then took the plunge, it sounds like, thanks to the female coalition against you, and you bought what?
When we first started back out with Westgate, we got what was called a 2-bedroom deluxe at Westgate Blue Tree. And where we were touring at was Westgate Lakes. And me, like, I'm reading paperwork because I got paperwork in my hands. I'm walking down the hall with these people, I'm reading paperwork, and I see the name Blue Tree up there. Like, hey, what is this? And he was like, that's Blue Tree. And I was like, but we're at the lakes. So what is that? What, I need to see that. I don't want to. He was like, no, the unit is the same. I don't want to hear that. We need
I want
all
to
of
see
this
what
to match.
I want
We
to
need
see.
yeah, I want to see what we're going to be purchasing. And so
Of course.
the guy was like, look, he was kind of sort of shushing. I was like, he was like sort of the trust me deal. I was like, I don't trust
Been
nobody.
there,
Like,
done that.
right. And so, but kind of gave I guess you would call a mulligan, like, okay, I'm gonna sort of cool it, because I understand also that we have a certain amount of time to cancel this if it's not what we want. And at this point, I'm saying, like, we're going to go look at this, and if it's not what we want, I'm coming right back down here and telling them tear this stuff up. And so, because this was what it was the second to the last day that we was getting ready to go home, and I was like, no, we got to go see this before we leave. But he told me, like, when we come up the elevator going up to the signing to do the the court papers or whatever, the stuff that you're supposed to send everything to the lady
Final
that stamps at the notary.
signatures on notary and
County
everything.
clerk. Yeah, county
Right.
clerk.
Right. We was going to see her. And when we got off the elevator, he was like, look, man, he asked, he said, how many times y'all say y'all been down here? I was like, this is our 3rd time down here. And then I said, we're going to be coming back next week. Like, we're going to go back, we're going to turn around and come back, because my brother, he's a race car driver, and he was going to be down there with some of the races and whatnot. So we was coming back with him. He was like, man, y'all have been down here all them at a time. He said, man, don't come back down here. Take this thing and travel the world. He said, I'm going to show you how to do it. So I sort of just, sort of leaned into that and just went on to finish the whole paperwork situation. We went and looked at Blue Tree, and when we looked at Blue Tree, it was like, this ain't it. Like, we don't want this. And I was looking at the page. I was like, she'll tell you, like, that ride home, that 10-hour ride was rough, because I was like, I don't like this. Like, we drove to Orlando from where we live. So we had to drive back the whole time. I got rocked to my jaw. Like, it ain't gonna be what we think it is. I'm telling y'all, and it's gonna be, I don't want to hear it. That was my whole
That was part of it for
whole
me
attitude.
too. Because I said, like, well, let's down the street, so to speak. So let's go see it. And, the insides were really great. I think, when you're traveling, being in Alabama, you're used to trees, you're used to all these different sorts of things. There's a certain thing you're looking for. But when you go on vacation, you want the glitz, you want the glam, you want the architecture and the landscape. And so, going there, the insides were great, but the outsides weren't necessarily giving that feeling, so to speak.
It wasn't giving resort feeling.
Yeah, it wasn't giving.
Compared to Westgate Lakes, it wasn't.
Right.
You didn't like
it wasn't giving the vacation vibes. So that's kind of where it was. But it's like it's a great establishment. The rooms, the units are great. It's just it wasn't giving the full experience of what we would have wanted in totality.
Well, and I believe that Blue Tree was an independent resort that Westgate later acquired. So
right.
So did you end up buying at Blue Tree or Westgate Lakes?
It was
we bought it Blue Tree.
But what happened was we ended up going home. We went through all our paperwork and everything, and then we remembered that he was like, well, you could take it. You could travel the world. You don't have to come back here. And I was like, well, we're going to travel the world, and let's do that. Let's see what that has to offer, see what's to it. And so that's where we basically banked our week. And that's how we ended up going to Cancun in July of that same year. But with that being said, we had when we left there, they had given us a bonus week, but they also had like a homeowners orientation ordeal to where, you know, we could book a time to come back to Orlando to be able to go through our homeowners orientation. And that's ultimately, if I'm not getting too far ahead, where we ended up with the lakes. So we didn't end up having Blue Tree that long. We had it long enough to bank our week for Cancun, but that's where we then, you know, ended up upgrading, and we ended up with the lakes.
Oh, okay. And but that was not a Westgate property in Cancun. That was another developer. So you
Right.
exchanged. Did you exchange through Westgate or RCI or Interval International?
It was an Interval.
Interval International. Okay. So you stayed in Cancun, and then so you said you didn't own Blue Tree that long. You bought again?
We
upgrade.
upgraded at the homeowners orientation. We just figured that the homeowners orientation was going to be like just kind of further going over questions, getting understanding of the ownership, but clearly it was a little more than that. And
It
that's
was
where
the new owner orientation.
yeah, new owners orientation. You got it right. That's what
It's
I
really
mean.
a new owners sell them some more stuff.
That's basically what it
Basically,
was. We had
basically,
we had a whole bunch of questions that we were gonna ask,
right.
but we got down there, none of that went the way, you know, we thought it was gonna go. So it was like, but at the same time, we had done did all of the research we needed to do. We were just gonna ask the stuff for clarification, and we basically didn't get to. It was like, hey, do y'all realize that whoever set y'all, I'm pretty sure people that got told the same thing, but whoever set y'all up on a certain type of pricing that everybody don't get, or whatever the case may be. And they gave us, you know, some options or whatnot. And I was like, listen, if we gonna upgrade, because at this point in time, let's jump back to what my breaking point is the month of July. We got involved with the Blue Tree under the and it was written that we had what they call the float week and a floating week, floating ownership. And what that meant was we were able to come back to and that was what we was thinking we had in Gatlinburg, was a floating type of ownership. And so when we did our booking with to do the short stay exchange, or well, banking, we found out about what our week was. We had week 30, something like that. And I was like, okay, so
26.
no, that was with we got week 26 now. But
Oh,
when we first got back into like with Blue Tree, we had week 34 or 30 or something like that.
On a floating.
But we didn't, yeah, but it was a float week. So he was like, we have your number on paperwork, but that doesn't really apply to when you actually travel. You float. That means you can go
the reason
anytime.
the reason they do that is so the developer doesn't book more than sell more than 52 weeks a year. So that doesn't guarantee you getting, if that's the week you're assigned to, doesn't necessarily mean you can stay when you want to at that. And now Kim can change the banner from victim of first time share to informed timeshare consumer.
Yeah.
Because you're happy with what you upgraded.
Yes, ma'am. We really happy. After we did that first, like Natasha was saying, we to keep with the order of how it happened, we purchased in 2021, December 2021. Then in February, we went through January. We
were doing all our research then.
A lot of research. Like we were
a lot of
reading,
research.
We was doing a lot of research. And then, you know, hey, look, I'm gonna tell y'all, I was calling, starting arguments with Westgate. They were right with this stuff. I mean, I was thinking, like, this ain't right. You know, I called a guy that did the sales manager. I called him, was like, this ain't what you sold us. You told us it was off by $50. He gave us the wrong number on something. It was off by $50. And I cut up about that $50. Like, I didn't let nothing go. Like, I cut up. But after going through all of that, they dealt with us like I would have wanted them to deal with us. You know what I mean? They didn't go off the rails.
They didn't ghost us.
Right.
They were right there with us the entire time.
So,
I have a question. Terry has a question. Would you mind sharing what the second and third upgrade, how much more money you had to put into it to get, and the second upgrade, that was for a 3-bedroom, right?
Right, right. It
Yeah,
was
so
so how much more was the upgrade and was it worth it? To a lot of people don't like me saying this. A bottle of water is worth more to a man in the desert than it is somebody sitting next to their refrigerator. So like to me, what is worth to me may not be worth it to somebody else. But to get into that, like I think when we upgraded to the 3-bedroom, it was the Tasia Caribbean. I want to say it was like 30K is what it was,
sounds
Space.
about right.
Yeah.
And then when we did when we went, because I want to make sure we do this right, because I want you to understand how the
The
whole upgrading thing
timeline,
happened.
because it can get a little stacked sometimes.
Right. So like when we purchased in 2021, it was like for me, nothing is gonna go right. Nothing is gonna go right. We did all of what we did in January, doing the research and giving them all kind of crap about what we got and what was wrong and all of that. And then we understood how to we learned how to do the exchange. We unraveled all of the interval stuff. We unraveled all of the Westgate Cruise and Travel stuff. We unraveled everything to understand what it actually was and what each wing or what each company did. And that was it was February when we actually banked our week.
Right.
And we was like, okay, we're not going back to Westgate. We're not going down there. We're going to bank it. So we banked it with Interval for the short stay exchange. And that's where you give them your 1 week and they give you back 2 7-day, 6-night stays. And so we took our first 7-day, 6-night stay and booked it for Cancun. And again, Cancun, that's another country. We didn't have passports.
Yeah.
So now we got to go and get passports. Also, if we're not driving, we got to fly. So those are plane
That
tickets
was
we
a
got to buy.
first
And so in
for a
my
lot of
mind,
us.
I'm thinking like we putting a whole lot of money behind trusting that this is going to work. So in the middle of doing all of that, we come up on May, which is when we do the new owner orientation. And when we do the new owner orientation, that's when we do our first upgrade. We upgrade from Blue Tree to Westgate Lakes.
That's the 3-bedroom.
To the 3-bedroom. Okay, so now we're sitting with that 3-bedroom. And we're like, okay, we're not doing anything else. We have enough. It was enough for us and my mom. That's what I was thinking. Like, it's us and my mom. We have enough for us. And July comes around and we go to Cancun. And we get to Cancun, that's a whole different story. But the experience that we had there, I remember walking into the room and they had all this stuff decked out for the birthdays and all that. I was like, it blew me away. And I remember everybody's going off about the balloons and stuff, but I looked to my right and all I can see is blue. And I'm saying to myself, I'm like,
The ocean.
we're looking at the ocean. And I'm saying to myself, like, hold up. It
That's
works the way they
room.
said, right. I'm like, it works the way they said it was supposed to work. And so I looked at my wife and I said, this is about to be a problem. I said, we're not going to never be at home because all we're going to want to do now is travel. And then I remember that night I was scared to go to sleep because I thought somebody was going to knock on the door and say, hey, y'all got the wrong room. All this, I was nervous. I did not want to, I didn't let up to like maybe the second or third day. And that's when I sort of like, and I remember telling my wife, I was like, we get to do this again next year and we ain't got to use our week. We still have our week from this and what we're going to have that we're going to use from our upgrade. And like the vacations at that point started to stack up. And so on our way home, we was thinking about it, was like, you know what? We want our whole family, like my brothers, I have 3 brothers. We want to have enough for them to be able to travel. And so when we got home, we had planned a getaway for my mom, my mom's birthday in September.
In July? Oh, September.
No, her birthday is in September.
Yeah.
And so like we had a getaway plan for her. So we went to took her to Branson, Missouri. And throughout that whole process, the deeding department called us because they had all the stuff registered with the county and all of that. And they was getting ready to send out our deed. And the lady was like, we have an upgrade for y'all. If y'all want to, you can upgrade to a 4-bedroom spiral. And so like I was like, okay, well, we're gonna look at the numbers or whatever. Now we're very personable people. So what we ended up doing, we had the lady send over
They were from
the
corporate, by the way.
right from corporate. They sent over all of the information that they was talking about in terms of how much it was gonna cost and what we were gonna get. And we got in contact with the person that we actually dealt with at the lakes and had them compare prices of what corporate was giving us versus what we was trying to make sure the numbers were going to be what they needed to be. And the guy came back with something that kind of blew our mind. He was like, hey, y'all can do that if you want to. He said, but we can give y'all, and this was going to give us our week 26. We can give you 2 3-bedrooms for, I want to say it was like $3,000 more than what the 4-bedroom spiral would have been at the lakes. And it was like, he was like, you can do that one, or you can get this 2 3-bedroom, these 2 3-bedrooms, and you're gonna we're gonna pay $3,000 more total price, but well, not total value price. And you're gonna have, I think what we did was a 12% finance on the 3-bedroom. They dropped our interest rate down to 10%, with 9.9% on getting the 2 3-bedrooms. And that's how we ended up with the 2 3-bedroom lockouts that we have now.
Now,
Right.
well, I want to make sure we devote enough time to the Facebook group that you launched. And Kim, if you can put the alternative Facebook group up, the Westgate Timeshare Hostages. Let's start with just a couple minutes of explaining how that came to be. So it's wonderful that your family was able to make the best of it. Not everyone can do that. So, if we had someone in the end of 2021, she was embarrassed because she was a virtual assistant for a realtor. So she came up with a Facebook name of Ben Dover. Ben had 2 N's. And she, very sophisticated person, and she had an every other year, I think 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom. And they said, if you buy an every other year, another every other year, you can rent that out and it will cover your maintenance fees. So Ben is a female, and she designed this from the Eagles, where you can check out, but you can never leave. And she and Carl and another owner held up signs outside of Westgate for a couple of days, the day of their annual meeting. The Orlando Sentinel showed up, so it went viral across the country, and she was able to resolve her dispute. Carl was not able to resolve his dispute, or he wasn't satisfied with what they were offering. So he's planning on holding another protest in Boston. Ben has 2 N's, Benndovver. It is July 16th to August, I don't know the end point, 15th or 25th. The Queen of Versailles, the Netflix documentary, is going into a musical. But what a better timeshare world this would be. You were able to get straight answers instead of, you signed a contract. There's a sentence in there that said you did not base your purchase on oral representations, which one
Right.
attorney called a license to lie clause. Here comes the Broadway show that's coming up, The Queen of Versailles. If Westgate and other developers would just communicate with families with transparency and honesty, that they treated your family. So I am thrilled to have 2 choices that if someone says they lied to me and they said I could make money by renting this out and they can't do it, now you can tell people there's another Facebook group that is dedicated to support people who need support. In February of 2017, I suggested Diamond Resorts Advocacy, which the name has been changed to Hilton Diamond Blue Green Advocacy, and it is for people who have been harmed. And there's another group with 14,000. We have over 9,000. There's another group with 14 of people that are happy with their points. So this is now, I looked up today, Cornelius, there are 896 members. When did you launch your Facebook group?
I launched it in, I want to say September of 2023, but we wasn't really pushing it like that because we was trying to get all our bearings in a, so I didn't really put it out there like that. But after we got our feet under us and whatnot, when we started pushing it a little bit more, started
And we're
being a
still
little more
working on some
interactive.
things.
Right, and we're still working on some things. Last year, like you're talking about improving the communication, all of that, my thought process and what I'm working on, all of the issues that you guys talk about, I've looked at some of the podcasts that y'all, all the issues that y'all have very valid issues. These are the issues that we feel like can be avoided, but it has to be done from the inside out. And so that's my goal, is to try to do it from an owner side. Like, and I say this with all due respect to every timeshare company, but for me, for that week, I am an owner, and I'm going to act like I'm an owner. If I have to raise hell, if I can say that, if I have to raise hell while I'm on property to get things done, that's what I'm going to do, because this is my property for this time period. That's the part that don't nobody want to necessarily think about. So I can be the owner from hell, or I can be the best thing that ever stepped foot on your property. It just depends on how we are treated. And that is the same thing, like we're travel partners. I tell people all the time, well, I told them, I don't want to tell people to come down here to tour this facility or tour this resort. Y'all don't get them and hold them in here for 9-10 hours lying to them. I said, because they're gonna come back and talk to me about that. I said, my name is on the line. I said, I don't want that. I said, then I can't go to the grocery store or go down to the Piggly Wiggly around the corner because y'all mistreated one of my neighbors that I sent down there. I said, I don't play like that. And so I be upfront with them, straight up and down. I don't like to go in and out with that. I just tell them straight, this is how this needs to happen. We've sent emails and asked, like we've requested, like, hey, let's do this to try to help owners be a little bit more informed. We have all these travel partners, these people that are trying to get people to come and tour. Allow us to have a weekend. We'll pay for it. We just want a weekend where we can all get together and share stories about what we've heard when we've tried to promote, try to promote these offers. I was listening to
try to work through the issues and
right, and try to work through the issues. Some of that stuff got shut down. Some of the stuff I put in there, I got to go back and read the terms and conditions. I do that frequently. After we sit that in, I ain't gonna say a lot. Some of the things in the terms and conditions started to change. But again, our approach is to try to do it from the inside and do it from the inside out to try to make the change what it needs to be. We don't have a complaint department.
I want to ask one curious question. Originally, you were sold something that you really didn't buy at all. Like you said this, and this. They did a contract because no matter what, it's going to be their terms, not yours. And they gave you a contract that you thought, and they knew you thought it said this, this, and this, and you took it. Now, then you were willing 2 times to pay an upgrade to get what you really wanted. Would you have originally paid that price to have gotten what you really wanted in the very beginning, the first time they sold you something?
In 2009.
Would you have been willing to pay that bigger price that you ended up paying anyway to have gotten everything that you wanted?
Are you talking about back in 2009 or the first time?
Would we have paid the price we're paying now for what we have now at the very beginning
to get everything that you wanted?
To get everything that we wanted right now. Knowing what we know now, and this has nothing to do with Westgate, just know it's hard to get people to travel. We we about going knocking on people's doors and say, hey, come go with us. Don't pay for nothing, just go. You know what I mean? So we are lucky this time. We're taking 2 families with us. They're going with us. But the reason why I said no is because what we had at the beginning gave us a great value. So, I mean, I think we upgraded into something that we're finding useful.
It works for your family.
Right.
Right. We have way more than what we need for my immediate family.
Right.
Me, my wife, and our 2 girls. We have way more than enough. We have 6 bedrooms. We only needed that 2-bedroom thing, that the 2-bedroom unit that we had at the beginning. But we wanted more people to get the experience of what Westgate has to offer. Right. But at the same time, not necessarily have to deal with the presentation side
portion of it. Hey, right. Come try it out first, and right. Then if you wanna, from that point, you can do that.
Have you thought about selling the part you don't need anymore?
No. Well,
there's very little resale for Westgate.
We know that, right?
Yeah,
right. We was in Vegas last year, and they were trying to get us to upgrade to do the sale to rent, and I was like, no. You know, it's a wonderful place. We're going back again this year. We're going to Vegas again, but we're not upgrading. We have a fixed week 26, which covers the 4th of July. In the month of July, we have exactly what we need. Okay, right. So there's no need in us moving anything. We have exactly what we need. I don't know if this is along the side. We could do a series on it, but we've been to several different Westgate properties, and these people laugh at us and like, there's nothing we could give y'all that y'all gonna move from what y'all have. So they have to go through the motions. Because I'll be sitting up there laughing at them when we're checking in. Do y'all want to do the tour? I say no. They're like, come on, we'll give you $100. I'm like, no, we don't want to do it. I'll just sit in on it. And I laugh at them. I say, okay. And then when we get back there, on the day that we get back there, the people that's supposed to be doing the sales presentation, they look at what we have and they ask us, why are we in there?
Well, and they're like, hey, they're able.
And I love your idea. Maybe get another series going on to just talk about some of these things, but also maybe not a complete series because it's a lot of work. But you don't seem to mind. But I want to thank you two for this story, because in a way we had that horror, oh my God, and then you made it the right outcome and you shared with us how. And that's something that we really need to do is encourage people to not stand down. Right, to go and be your own advocate, and this is how. Don't stand down. And I want to thank you two from the bottom of my heart. I know Irene, she pulled all this together. Thank you, Irene. Unfortunately,
and what one of our major goals has to be to get this information to people, the general public, before they ever go on their first timeshare presentation.
Right, exactly. Education and information is the way.
Informed timeshare consumer. And maybe you guys can do that to do a show on that just in itself. But I want to thank you all for this. We'll see you guys next Monday. Don't forget, you can watch this show every day on Amazon and Roku at 9:30 a.m. and 9 p.m. And we look forward to seeing you next week, everyone. And have a great.
I might be talking to 2 future TARDA board members right now.
All right. Well, and I might get on the phone with you. Take care.